And we are live.
Hello.
Hi, if there's anyone around, if you're arriving late, I hope if you rewatch it, you see we said hello. So,
Such different editions. I actually really like the cover of your edition, though.
I love it. You know why? Because of this mojo.
Yours has Mojo. I'm jealous. I love Mojo in the book. I
Mojo is
know he's
bad.
like a minor character, but like you shove a dog in the same book as me, and I'm like, I just love the dog.
He's so cute. I was
So
constantly scared that he was going to die.
I I thought it was quite nice though. Lestat was like, "Here is the dog. By the way, nothing bad will happen to him." I was like, I literally read that. I was like, I don't trust you, Lestat. What's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
happen to the dog?
yeah. I thought the
What's
same
going to
thing. I was
happen
like,
to
I
him?
don't trust Lestat. Lestat always makes bad decisions, and is always wrong.
Well,
Yeah, I
he
was
does seem to
scared.
like the dog, but I think the dog reminds him of a time when he was human, and I think that's why he's kind of like, I love this dog. Nothing's going to happen to it. I just want it to have a good life. And then he like lets the old women kind of have the dog slash it's still his, but he just wants to have the dog happy. And I think it is because it just reminds him of the childhood dogs that he had and the ones that like saved him all that time ago. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like a nice flashback to like his origins, I think, by having Mojo.
Let's talk about Mojo later. We went straight into detail.
Just me like I love Mojo.
We both gave it the same rating.
Did we? I gave it 4 stars.
Yes, I know. I heard you yesterday. I wasn't alive.
I enjoyed this one. I think it read really easy. I think I just liked Lestat as a point of view because the first one
No.
had Louis and I gave it 3 star and I was kind of like and then the second one was from Lestat's point of view and I loved that one. I gave it 4 stars. Third one was from everyone else's perspective basically except from Lestat's and I gave it 3 stars.
Hmm.
This was from Lestat again and I gave it 4 stars. So I clearly just need it to be from Lestat's perspective and I should be good.
Yeah,
That's what I've kind of discovered in Lestat's my character.
yeah, for sure. From the beginning, actually, you knew it from the beginning. But I have issues with Lestat. I mean, Lestat as a person is a good person. Like here, that we saw him as a human, we saw the difference, and I think he's a good person. He's not a bad person as a person,
I mean, he did bad things.
but he's not a bad person. He doesn't have bad intentions as a human, if it makes sense.
Yeah, he just makes bad decisions.
Yes, constantly.
Because I'm thinking of the bartender woman, the restaurant woman, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a good decision at all. That was a very, very horrible thing that happened.
This book is completely different to all the three previous books.
Yeah.
Like completely different. It's a 180 degrees twist.
I really like that this one was more modern. So in the past we've had like their like histories and stuff. And this one was just all modern. Everything was happening now. And I actually really, really appreciated that
Mm.
because I was kind of getting tired of all the flashbacks and all the historical because I'm not a historical reader. So I was kind of struggling a bit. But this one was so modern, it just read really easy. And I just much preferred this one.
It read really easy because it was telling the story of what was happening then. It was not
Yeah.
uh, trying to explain what happened before. It was not going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was just there was a line to it, to the plot.
Yeah.
The only thing is when he remembered stuff that was once. There was once that he started again doing his internal dialogue that I was like, no, 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 stop, no, don't. It was just this one time. I didn't mark that one, but it was. I was like, no, I cannot take your internal dialogue. No,
I don't remember when that is in the book.
I don't remember either. I think it was around page 250 something.
Our
But for me,
editions are so different. I have no idea where that is. Is that when he wants to remake the house?
yeah,
Yeah, I understand that. Because I was
and
going to say that part he does kind of go back, but I can understand why when he wants to make it exactly like it was the first time with Claudia and with Louis. It does make sense for him to kind of reminisce on that time during that scene.
he's vindictive as hell. He Why would he burn the whole? Why would you burn Louis's house with everything? And he was stupid enough to leave his suitcase in the house and burn it with a. Ah, that's karma.
It was that moment when I was like, well then. But I kind of expected him to do something really outrageous because he can't kill Louis. And like Louis is able to just kind of disappear in like a flash. So he really wanted to hurt him, and I think that house was kind of the way for him to do it. But then Louis was kind of like, well, thanks, I guess. Like, did you have to burn my house down? Like, I was quite happy there. So,
I loved how Louis, in just one chapter, in just a few pages, you could see, like, see back. I went back to book one, like the way he is and how strong his will is. Like I said, no,
I
it's no. Do whatever you want. No.
I really like the fact that he wouldn't give in to Lestat and was like, no, this is what you done. You chose to become human. You deal with the consequences. Like, I'm not turning you into a vampire because things have got hard. Like, grow up.
Louis is like the father, like Lestat's father, rather than a lover or a big
Speaking of
brother.
Louis being basically the leader, I found it was quite interesting that at basically the end of the book, I know that's like skipping forward a whole bunch, but I found it quite interesting that at like the end of the book, Louis was like, I am the leader. And I was like, are you though? I don't feel like
Hmm.
you are. He thinks he's a leader, but he's really not. Like he would not cope without Louis and without David in this book. He needed David as a main character through this. He wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for David.
Well, I think it was clear throughout the book. It's like David was the only one who helped him. Nobody else did. Everybody else was like, no, mm-mm, not
So
you. You deal with
I
it and
wonder
you
what he
learn.
would
But he
have
doesn't.
done. I wonder what he would have done with Gretchen if he never became Lestat again. I wonder whether he would have just kind of followed Gretchen and been like, you know what, let's go to the rainforest. Or whether he would have tried to live a normal human life while still begging Louis like every 10 minutes to
I
become a
think he would
vampire
have
again.
followed her. I think he would have. He falls in love with a leaf. I don't know. He's just he falls. Yeah, like he turns beautiful. Love you. Turns beautiful. Love you. Turns beautiful. Love you. What the hell is wrong with you?
To be fair, he was a bit of a slut when he was human. So I think it's just carried on and he's just like, I'll just love everyone and everything. So it's kind of like, oh, okay.
That was terrible. I was like, darling, be selective, please.
Well, he was human for like a week and he slept with one woman, fell in love with another one, and fell in love or was in love, whatever, with David. And
He
I'm
was
like,
in love with him.
I was like, you're having a very lovable week, considering you hate everything. Like, Like, that's impressive, Lestat.
But
Mm,
he had been in love with David for a long time.
yeah.
Like that was not the beginning. It's just he felt it differently because he was human again. But but he was in love with David. I mean, he was in love with many. He was in love with Armand, in love with Louis, in love with Claudia, in love with David, in love with Gabrielle. Let's not forget, he was in love with his mother.
And he was in love with the Queen. He's
Ah,
just sort of in
he
love
was
with
in love with the
everybody.
Queen. Yeah.
What I should do is just make a tally of how many people he falls in love with throughout the series. Like,
We
because it's
should do
insane.
that. Why don't we? Yeah, we totally could do that. That'd be interesting.
Speaking of David, what did you think of his character like throughout this book?
I
Because we
love
got a
David.
lot more of him now than we did in last book. Last book we saw him for like 10 minutes. This book we
Spoiler
had him
alert for
basically whole.
whoever's watching and doesn't want a specific spoiler. I hate and Rise because they didn't sleep together. I needed
So
that as breathing. I thought David may have made him just stay in love with one for a while. I
I
love David. I wanted them to have sex. Simple.
I'm not surprised that they didn't though. I think obviously we have Lestat who after all that time. And I think if he hadn't slept with two women previously, then he might have. But I feel like David was like, you're kind of just sleeping with everybody that you can. Um, you're kind of not taking it like as a serious thing. And I feel like David didn't just want to be like a one time.
I think David is my favorite character in the whole series because I
I,
did identify with him. I see him as this person who focuses, who's so scared of loving and so scared of bad experiences, and that he decides to focus on academics and his own powers and what he can develop for himself, with himself. And when he has the opportunity, he refuses because he's scared.
I
He says it.
I felt really sorry on David though at the end. The ending for David was such a shame. And I'm going to speak spoilers, so if you haven't read the book yet, you don't want spoiled, skip over this bit. Um, but I found it such a shame that Lestat literally forced him to become a vampire, like against his will. Like, because he kept saying no, and Proper was fighting it, and he was just like, no, like you're becoming one. I've decided, and he just wouldn't give it up. And I felt that was such a shame because he hadn't even got used to this body yet. Like he'd literally just turned from like James, Lestat, now it's David that's in that same body. He wasn't used to that body. It'd been like what, a week or something, if that. And all of a sudden he's now stuck in that body forever. And I thought that was such a shame and like he just did not deserve it that way, like at all.
But that's Lestat. He always does what he wants, no matter the others. That's the thing I hate about him the most. One of the things I hate him the most about him is the following, and this first page, so no spoilers here. And I was in a dark frame of mind when these dreams began. A vagabond vampire roaming the earth, sometimes so covered with dust that no one took the slightest notice of me. What good was it to have full and beautiful blonde hair, sharp blue eyes, razzle-dazzle clothes, an irresistible smile, and well-proportioned body 6 feet in height that can, in spite of its 200 years, pass for that of a 26-year-old mortal? What?
I mean, that just screams Lestat. That's
That screams. That screams arrogance like nothing. I was
I
like,
think
what's wrong in here? Let's start. Why 200 years of life and you have not matured a single second?
I really like it though. I absolutely love the way that Lestat is. Like, I
No.
shouldn't, but I just find him so captivating to
You
read.
like my
Like,
stat. I know I shouldn't, but I anyway do.
I love Lestat. He's like amazing. Like, I love him. I'm not going to
I
deny it. I
I
love
love
Lestat.
David and Louis. I love David and Louis.
I think Louis is growing on me more as a character now. Um, I didn't like him in interview. I just found him really whiny, very depressive. I was just like, oh. But see now that we're not hearing his internal monologue, that depressing, whiny man, and we're actually kind of just seeing how he is to everybody else, I much prefer him. Like, as long as we're not going back into his head, we should be
But
fine with Louis.
I believe those emotions a lot more than Lestat. Like, it's normal that at the beginning, when something you didn't want to happen happens to you, and you have to actually accept it for eternity. Hello. So
I
you're feeling like that, and you have those immature reactions, and you uh, want to say that's not happening, and you want to that to be real and stuff. And I think that was normal, but
see, I
the
think,
years he's been alive have matured him and make him
yeah.
accept this new situation. That's what I
I
love.
think Lestat, because he was born and raised a lord, essentially, like one of the lords of the manor, he kind of grew up with that sort of arrogance anyway. So I think it didn't really change his personality. He's just had that much longer and he's that much richer now. And people basically fall at his feet whenever he wants. So he's continued from being like that arrogant, feeling like an outcast, but still arrogant. He was still a lord at that time, right into, well, now I get my way. Like, this is just who I am at this point. And I feel like the arrogance has grown, and I think that's why he is as arrogant as he is. For me,
It's
it makes
growing.
sense of the way he is, just based on his past as well as how he is now. Whereas Louis, he was a plantation owner, and so he was kind of like a lord-ish, but he seemed to always care for his people, and he had so much empathy for them. And I feel like when he kind of lost everything, he just kind of kept wanting to kind of relate to the mortal people, and so he's a lot more human and a lot more whiny, and he's a lot more like, but I just want to be human again. And I think if it turned, instead of James doing it with Lestat, if it had been James and Louis, I think Louis without a doubt would have lived a human life and just decided to die that way. I don't think he would have tried to come back as a vampire.
I would agree with you that it's normal, but I would say, like, darling, 200 years should have taught you a bit. I mean, be a bit humble, a bit. I mean, he's only humble when he's going to say something about love, like when he's, uh, oh, I love you, whatever. That's he. There's a bit of humbleness there, but for the rest,
So I think he tries to make up for it though. I think if he realizes he's hurt someone, he does try to fix it. Like, he is that person who is like, when he raped that woman, he had instant remorse afterwards, and then he went back to her when he was in his normal life and gave her gems and stuff and was like, you know what, I'm going to make sure that you're actually okay. Like, I hate what I did. Like, are you actually okay? Did everything turn out okay? So he does have that remorse as as a vampire and through all that time. Whereas I feel like if it was his human self, he wouldn't have cared. He would just be like, well, that's just another conquest and moved on. So I think he does. I think he just hides it really well at the same time. So I feel like it's a bit of a mixture for Lestat.
regarding his personality, there was something I was like, when he says how incredulous I was, and I was like, excuse you, I was, I was. I mean, it's page 67 for me. That's chapter. Let me 5. It's chapter 5.
Okay.
Um, like around the middle of chapter 5. No, no. Oh, chapter 5 was really long. I forgot that. Like 5 pages for me into chapter 5, that he says he's talking about Brazil, and there were shocking revelations afterwards. I remember the first night I read the files on the vampires, how incredulous I was. Oh, that's David. And then he replies, "Believe me, I know, David. The world is meant to remain a mystery. Is there? If there is any explanation, we are not meant to hit upon it of that much. I'm sure." I love that. He said something
Okay.
intelligent and mature. Sorry, I was shocked. I was like, David should have said that. But he says the world is meant to remain a mystery. If there is any explanation, we are not meant to hit upon it.
I
I
really
think
like
that's
that. I
true.
like the fact that he's been alive for so long and it's still like, no, there's still mysteries. There should still be mysteries in life. Like I don't want to know everything. I did actually really like that myself, that was that.
Like we keep on, like we as in humans, humanity in general, try to know everything and want to know everything, and transgress actually nature and the rules of nature, and whatever thing we want, just to get to know and know and know, and
Yeah.
we'll never get to really know. I mean, there's not enough life, even in eternity you don't. So that's what made me I felt like a worm in my chest. I was like, yeah, that's the key to living. Like, know as much as you want if you want to, but be clear that there are things that are meant not to be revealed, and there is the metaverse is too huge, it's vast, so it's impossible that we get to know even a tenth of what it is. Love it.
I think there's a lot of good like quotes in here. I didn't highlight my books. I don't like highlighting, so I can't really remember all of them.
I don't.
But there
Mm.
was quite some quite nice quotes in here just in general, which I was really happy about. And if it was on my Kindle, I would have like highlighted them and done like a small note because I don't mind on Kindle because
Yeah, because
it's
it's
just
not
highlighting.
painted. Yeah, I get it
Yeah.
perfectly. When I see somebody writing on books and highlighting in them, and I'm like, no, no. So I
But
get it. I was tempted
I
here. I was tempted, really tempted to highlight.
I think it was kind of interesting with Gretchen as well because Gretchen was like a nun who'd just come and then she met Lestat and then after Lestat she went straight back to basically being a nun. And I found that quite interesting. I liked the way that was like showing like the good and the bad together, like yin and yang. I really kind of liked that
Yeah,
comparison that Anne
agree.
Rice did and that.
Yeah,
I
but
thought it was really clever. And I love
yeah,
the fact that Lestat was like, no, I am evil. Like, I am evil. Like, believe
I'm
me. And
telling
she's like,
you,
no. Like, but then she sees him and he's his vampire self at the end. And then she believes him.
I
I don't,
hated
well,
that.
she doesn't believe him, but she's like, no, 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 this is repulsive. And then she kind of really backs away. And then it seems like she has stigmata or she
Yes,
gives
it's
herself
matter. Yeah,
stigmata.
yeah,
One of the two.
psychologically.
And
Uh huh.
and then I thought it was kind of interesting because at that point you had someone who was so holy and was like the most holy person like on earth essentially with stigmata and stuff. And then you had Lestat, who is basically like the devil child again. And it was just seeing how that kind of went from yin yang, a little bit good, a little bit bad, to them being to the extremes of good and bad. I thought that was just really, really good way of doing it,
Yeah,
personally.
but I hated that she had that reaction. Like initially, it's like I don't believe you, and that's okay so far. But then it was too much. He was like, "Darling, you're taking things out of proportion." He's telling you he's not going to harm anybody. He's trying to
No,
help you. He just
I'm not. I'm not going to
He
hurt
probably
anyone. Okay, I'll hurt myself. Like, what? Okay, okay, Gretchen. Okay.
he's like, but that is exactly at the point where I knew where they met. It's like they have the same naivety. They were both as naive and stubborn. That's where they met. I
It's
think
probably
that's
why they. It's probably why they were so happy with each other in that moment, because even Gretchen let down her walls and she just seemed genuinely happy. It's probably because she met someone who was exactly like her, but also the opposite of her at the same time. So it kind of worked in her favor.
yeah. I mean, I loved seeing how both were so different, but at the same time the same. And that's when I saw it. When they get to extremes, you say, "Oh, they're both as naive, and they're both as stubborn, and they both refuse to listen when somebody's
Yeah.
telling them, 'Hey, this is the way it is.'" Like everybody, I knew, you knew, everyone who's read this book knew what was going to happen. Everyone knew this guy was going to leave him just stranded, and except him.
Always the case with Lestat. The end, the part with David though really surprised me. Like I was kind of expecting it to an extent, but I was just like, no, no, please no, please, please no, no, don't do it, don't do
I
it,
was
like
expecting it.
don't
I,
Lestat.
from the beginning, I was expecting it. I knew he was going to do it.
Yeah, I was the same. I was like, oh, it's going to happen, but then I thought he wasn't going to do it at one point. And I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. And I was like, no, 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 don't do it. Stop, stop.
But
Because
then you
it
were
seemed
as
like
naive as
once,
Lestat because
see,
you
I
believe he
feel
was
like
not going to. Sorry, sorry.
I thought he was going to do it. And then when we have that James was like, yeah, make me a vampire essentially in David's body. And he was kind of like going to until he realized and he pushed him away and basically killed David's body. I was like, okay, maybe he won't do it when he finds the real one, just as like penance because how bad he felt about it and how he doesn't kind of feel like that was the best move and he was really like just really sorry. And then he just done it anyway and I was like, really? Did you not learn anything from the last time? Nothing?
Lestat doesn't learn.
But seeing, but I loved when you saw Claudia and she was just there like, did you expect any different Lestat? And I was like, oh, Claudia is in there. She's like his conscience, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. That's what I was thinking all the time. Like she's she tries to take him down to earth. She says the tells the truth, just straightforward, but it's always going to be for nothing or too late because Lestat doesn't learn. That's how he is. He doesn't learn anything. He repeats the same mistakes again and again and again and again and again and all over again. So that I'm that's what makes him fun at the same time because you know he's going to get into trouble and you're going to go like face palm. You know, like you know that's going to happen, but then the whole book was about how Lestat would um get computer fell.
Nobody's camera likes them. Mine was falling over before the stream. Yours is falling over now.
So, so yeah, you know he's going to get into trouble, and you know the fun of the book was going to be like you knew was going to happen, but you expected it not to, and how he was going to try and get out of it, and if
Yeah.
he was going to get out of it, because you know somebody should stop this guy.
I I thought was kind of interesting though that Lestat did try to kill himself. Like he did try to destroy himself before he became James, David, whatever his name was in this other body. I'm going to name him James. James's body. Let's go for that. So before he went into James's body, I thought it was quite interesting that he actually did try to end his life. And he was like, you know what, I'm just going to waste away in the sun, see if that'll do it. And he just seemed so low and so just not himself. And then becoming human, he was kind of like, well, actually, you know what, I don't actually like being human. Maybe my life as a vampire wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And then he became the cocky Lestat again. Basically, at the end of me, like, you know what, I'm just going to do whatever I want again. So I thought it was like a really interesting development for Lestat throughout this book, whether it was from like really low, couldn't do it anymore, and then sort of realizing who he was again. And I thought that was kind of nice just to have Lestat like go through everything again and basically be like reborn, I guess.
Yeah, and that actually happens to all of us. Like at some point that we don't appreciate the things we have, and then when we are in a different situation, I think that's what Andre's trying to portray. Like somehow, like when we're in a different situation or have different things or lose certain things, then we realize how much we appreciated those, but it's too late. That's normal. So I think that was good. I really like that. Really, really liked his reflections on how he didn't um, appreciate what he had. And then when he's in his body, he's instantly like, ah, this is life.
And me again. Like, I don't ever change it. Like, he
Yeah.
just seems so relieved that he could be back to himself again. I don't think he would have been able to last as a human. Like, he was struggling far too much. Like,
And I
I
love
don't know
how
whether
much,
he would have.
yeah, yeah. And I love how much he knew himself. When he says, this is a quote, the quote, my greatest sin has always been that I have a wonderful time with being myself. My guilt is always there. My moral abhorrence for myself is always there, but I have a good time. So this is what I am, and I don't care. Easy peasy.
I, I feel like that's how a lot of us should be. Like, I feel like a lot of people are more self-conscious. He's just like, you know what? I don't care. This is me. You can take it or you can leave it. Like, what I did think interesting though was when you saw, was it Marius? When Lestat burnt down the house and he just looked at Lestat and then he left. Was it
I
Marius?
yeah, it was married.
I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh. Like, I thought he would have appeared at the end of the book, like when Lestat like becomes into his own body again. I was expecting that we would see him again and saying something to Lestat, but we never did, and that kind of sucks in a way because I feel like that would have been such an impactful moment of the book to have Marius come and be like, whatever his like speech or whatever would be to Lestat at that point, to basically call him an idiot. We would have done it in a much better way because it's Marius. But I feel like that would have been such an impactful thing if he did come back at the end of that book just to kind of
I
drive
think
it
Marius,
home.
yeah, I think Marius was waiting for a long time since Lestat did everything he asked him not to do and made a mess of everything, that Marius was just waiting. He's so patient and he was just waiting. He was like, okay, Lestat is going to give me the chance to just go like, you're stupid. And you should have never done that. If you hadn't done that, I would be helping you. And it's so easy
I
for me to do it, but I'm not going to. So I think that was a message. Like I was waiting for a long time, and you, as I predicted, did something that was going to allow me to show you how much of a consequence what you did was going to have. So without doing anything, because you do it yourself, look at you now and go like, what did you say before? That was the
I I
attitude. No.
really I really like Marius, so I'm really hoping that he will have another part to play in this story before it's over. I'm sure he will because the series is quite long, and we're about a quarter of the way in,
Hmm.
so we still have
Hmm.
quite a lot to go. So I think it will be really interesting actually just seeing how all the characters develop. Like I don't know how it's going to go because obviously this is my first time reading them, so I don't know how anything's going to go. I knew the story of Queen of the Damned because I'd seen the movie. I'd seen the movie of Interview with the Vampire, so I kind of understood. But everything now is just so completely new to me that I'm like, I don't know where it's going. Because every story seems to be like you can read it as a standalone. Like I do feel like you could pick it up as a standalone the way that they're written. But
Yeah, but this
if you
one you wouldn't understand Marius, for example. You wouldn't
yeah,
understand Claudia if you hadn't read the first one.
I feel like there is parts that you wouldn't know, but I feel like overall you probably could follow the story pretty well, even
Yeah,
if you hadn't
yeah.
read others. So I feel like you can read them as standalones. It's obviously better if you have actually read the others, you'll get a lot more impact from it. But I do think it's quite interesting that they're all like individual stories that you can read. So even if you were to put it down for ages and then pick it back up, because they're all individual, you wouldn't really get lost in what's happening, whereas you
Mm.
would with a lot of other series. So I do like that actually about these books as well.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, I hadn't thought much about that. Haven't given it much thought at all. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like to have done that because I myself need to understand from the beginning, like
Yeah.
every character and what they're there. And I think Claudia's development was interesting enough to understand her role here, like why she there, who she was. I mean, he explains, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he explains who everybody is, still all the way through. So you could understand which each character is, which is really good.
Hmm. And there was we get now to one thing I hated. Chapter 16, uh, third paragraph. I live in Colombia at the moment. You know that Colombia is South
Yeah.
America,
Didn't
very
he go?
close to the French Guiana, by the way. And he says, she says, because it's Andra's writing here.
Yeah.
The first years she'd spent in Peru when she'd gone on to the Yucatan. Excuse me? Yucatan Peninsula is not Peru, is Mexico.
So she screwed up the geography in that case
Big
as well.
time. Mexico is Central America, Peru is South America. Like it's far. It's not one next to each other even.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like she maybe should have checked her geography when she done that.
Yeah, that was a bit. And then she goes. Her most recent assignment had been in the jungles of French Guiana, a place of primitive Indian tribes. Excuse me? Listen to me. I got the Encyclopedia Britannica here on my phone, right? Because I needed to show this. Let me find the people. People, land, drainage and soils, climate, plants and animal life, people. Most of the population is black, having descended from African slaves. Indian, excuse me? That's to begin with. And there is a large minority of mulattoes and other mixtures. There are also small minorities of East Indians, descendants of indentured laborers brought to replace the freed slaves.
Maybe not the best of things to put in the book in that case. Like,
If you don't
I never
know,
picked
don't
up
say
on
anything.
I never picked up on that, but that's because I don't know anything
It's
about
okay
that
you
area.
don't know. It's okay.
So
Don't have to know everything. As we like, there's a
yeah,
lot to know about the world. Like, you don't have to know everything, but you don't put it in a book when the Encyclopedia Britannica says. I mean, hello. I was like, this. There's something really wrong about that French Guiana thing, and then I searched for it, and I found this, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then she's saying, uh, the mission was in Margaret Mary, 6 hours, whatever, and then she continues. She and the other sisters, but often they had to leave the mission itself and go directly to the people in their villages. Everything's okay up to that, but at some point, I don't know if I marked it or not. She said like everybody was really poor. I think, yeah. Um, It was only that these Caribbean islands seemed the true world, the world for real living, and I marveled, as I always did, when these islands that they could be so beautiful, so warm, and so very poor. I think that's a little bit of a colonialistic way of looking at it.
yeah, it does sound like that, to be honest. I never really picked up on it, but I think I wasn't kind of looking out for all those things. I was just kind of like enjoying the story, being more wrapped up in it, that I didn't kind of notice all the small things.
Oh,
But I feel like it happens
I
in a
got
lot
it
of
because
books
I
when you
live in
read.
South America. I mean, that's why I paid attention because I live here and I'm like,
Yeah.
I people here, like South Americans and Central Americans, they hate when uh, others in in first world countries think this is all jungle, and that's how she portrays this. Like, this is all jungle and people with, how do you call that thing, the triangle on the private parts,
Um,
that
I
is
know the
only
thing you
covered
mean, but
that.
I can't think what the name is.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
People hate that image of South and Central America in here because I mean I live in a city. I know many cities, but people are literate. People have studies. There's the same technology that there's everywhere. I mean, this is a normal place. Like there's a bigger difference between the rich and the poor. Yes, there is,
Yeah.
but there's many people in middle class, and it's not just either you have everything or nothing either. So I hated that image, that portrayal. That at some point she also mentions like none of them had, like nobody in these countries remotely has any money to get out of them.
I
Like
see.
literally.
I didn't take that as the country as a whole. I just took it as she was like in really rural, poor areas trying to help at that point. I don't think she was meaning like the cities or anything. I think she was just talking about the really rural parts where Gretchen was working. I
Right.
don't think she meant
I think she
like
did. At that point, I think she did. I don't know if it's here.
because I'm pretty
Uh,
sure when I read it, I was just thinking, okay, she's went to really rural parts
she's talking
of this
about,
place.
yeah, about the island, and she's saying here one saw the poverty everywhere. The haphazard wooden houses on stilts, the pedestrians on the borders of the road, the old rusted automobiles, and the total absence of any evidence of affluence, making, of course, for acquaintance in the eye of the outsider, but something of a hard existence perhaps for the natives who had never gathered together enough dollars to leave this place, even perhaps for a single day. The natives. You
Yeah,
know, it's like,
I can
hello,
understand why. I can understand why you'd be really angry about that. I
what
just read it
year is
as
this?
I only really read it as she went to really rural. poor parts because that's what she was doing, like her charity, nursing, like to help people, whatever
No, she's talking
missionary
about
stuff.
Georgetown, the capital.
Oh,
But in
yeah,
the
I didn't
previous
think.
paragraph, she mentioned like mean cold of Georgetown, no doubt of it at all. She's talking about Georgetown and then the whole island, and I'm like, excuse me. I mean, how many people from South America and Central America do you know in Europe? A lot, probably. Have you seen a lot? You've met a lot. You've crossed a lot. Even if
Fair
you are
amount.
not
I
friends
wouldn't
with
say
many,
lots. I'd say a fair amount though.
not as many in Scotland as in England, but
Yeah,
England is
Scotland.
packed.
Scotland's more like Scotland accepts everybody, but I feel like a lot of people who like immigrate and stuff always end up in England instead of Scotland. So it's not
Scotland
as
is
much because
colder and
people.
they're used to the tropics, so yeah, they're not
Yeah.
used to such. Like if it's colder, they avoid it.
I mean, we're getting really warm here as a country, strangely. I don't know what's happening, but we're
I
getting
love
quite as a
Scotland.
warm country.
I love Scotland. I think it's a
Scotland's getting
beautiful
warm.
place,
Like, I don't
but
know
I
what's
love
going on.
cold.
Scotland's getting warm. I don't like it.
I don't like when it's too warm either at all. Like, luckily, I live in a city that is up high in the mountains. Like Bogota is 2,600 meters up from from sea level, so it's generally cold,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love that. But like cold throughout the year, like there are some days that there's sunshine, like today that I'm wearing short sleeves, but it's generally a
Yeah.
long sleeve, and it's nice, like sunny and cold,
That,
or rainy and cold, but it's okay. That's good.
that's
But
not bad.
many cities are really hot in this country. Like in here, you don't have seasons, so the whole year it's either generally cold or generally hot or really humid yeah, it's the whole year in the same place. But you can travel anytime. Like you can take a car, and in 2 hours
Yeah.
you're in a very hot place from a very cold place. So you can
Oh,
choose when you want summer, basically.
well, that's useful.
Yeah, that's very useful. But I miss my seasons. But I get it. I mean, I get the usefulness of it. But yeah, that's the point. Like, excuse you? No, no, don't portray. No, that's not how it works. Like, there's many people who are poor, yes, but I've been living here for 13 years, like not two, 13. And I've
Yeah.
traveled throughout South America. Like, I've been to Bolivia, I've been to Brazil, I've been to Venezuela. She talks about Venezuela very nicely. That's the only thing that she is positive about is Caracas.
She's like, I want to go back there. I like being there.
But for the rest, it's like everyone's miserable, and nobody has nothing, and nobody can get anything, and don't even have the possibility of getting the money to go abroad. And when I
Yeah.
was 13, I had Cuban friends in Spain. When I was 16, I met Colombian, no, 14, I met Colombian people in Spain. When I was 17, I met Ecuadorian people in Spain. How did they get there?
Yeah.
Not by boat. They flew. I mean, hello. Is the way she portrays that? It's highly colonialistic, highly. And at this point in time, like she wrote this 1991.
Yeah.
I was 9. So having that image, and I didn't have that image of these countries. Having that image of these countries in general, like there are small rural areas that are forgotten by the governments and they don't have easy access, or I know that's true, but she's not making the difference. Like she's not saying there's a difference between this and that. She's just portraying the whole country. I mean, not where I live, not the country where I live, but it's
Yeah.
just not far from me. She's portraying the whole island as you know,
Yeah.
I couldn't take that. So
Yeah,
the one
she
star it
really
was
should
missing
have
was because of that.
she really should have done that with a bit more care, because when you're saying it like
Because,
that, it does sound really, really bad.
mm,
Whereas, like, if it's me, for example, as I said, I didn't pick up on that. So she really should have taken more care when she was writing the segment about South America. Definitely. Um,
that's what shocked me. But that she explicitly says those things, and no.
moving away from that, we'll move away from that. I feel like we've had enough time speaking about how disappointed and nice you are. I thought it was kind of annoying how just stupid Lestat was. Like, he just fell for every trick in the book when it came to James. Like, James was like, I'm a thief and stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he didn't leave me any money and he stole all the stuff. And I'm like, he literally just
Well,
told you he was going to do it before he done it. Like, what are you on about?
when James told him, "You cannot look at me because you have to be focused on the task," and I'm like, "Please, let's not look at him. See what he's going to do." And he didn't. And I was like,
I did think it was
uh,
interesting, though, that even though James had no intention of taking the body back, and he was like, okay, you can have like £10 million to like live in that body. There you go. If you go to the bank at the right time. But I thought it was kind of interesting that he tried to steal all the codes and stuff and he just couldn't get into the firewall. And I was like, that is a good firewall. When Lestat's like, hey, I didn't do anything though. Like, I'm still rich.
yeah, yeah.
I
That
thought that was quite clever.
yeah, that was clever for sure. Because I was scared. I was like, Lestat is going to be left penniless. Totally. I thought he was going to be left completely penniless. Like no money whatsoever. I thought he was. I mean, but he got the 2 millions and the 22 million, and I was like, what? No, no, no. Ugh.
We
And
didn't
the
actually
poor
end up losing a
9 million.
penny. So
Sorry?
James couldn't get past his firewall, so he couldn't even get a penny. Of the fact he was like, well, I can't get into the New York one, so screw it. I'll just go on a yacht. Like, I'll just go on a cruise. But I was like, okay, well, can't pass the firewalls, can't be completely rich. Let's go on a holiday. Like, okay.
But I thought that was somehow incoherent. That James was so brilliant, and then David starts calling him stupid all the time,
Yeah. I think he
and
was
he
clever
does
in the
stupid
terms of
things.
cheating people, but he just wasn't clever in just general life. Like, he was good at being
Yeah,
a scam artist, is essentially what he was good at. But everything else, he was just kind of not as good as he could be. Like, he didn't take any like precautions. Like, he was like, "Oh, I'm good at breaking into things." It didn't work, so he just kind of gave up. He was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just try and do something else." Like, there's no point in me continuously trying, and he gave up so easy instead of trying to figure out the ways around.
yeah, yeah. But he did like probably he relaxed. He was like, God, this Lestat is so stupid that there's no
Yeah.
way he finds me or he thinks of a way to get me or that's not going to happen. And he was probably thinking David was going to be so mad at Lestat for having done it that he was not going to help at all. He was not expecting that David had fallen in love with him.
I I think David is really sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I keep forgetting that he's like 70s. I was like, he was like 72, and I was like, what?
No.
What are you on
Yeah.
about? What are you
74.
on about? He's not
Mm,
70, is it 72 or 74 or
74.
something.
Mm.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean? No, he's not. He is not that old. He doesn't read that old. He doesn't seem that old. Like
Yeah, I always thought of him as 40, as being 40, and
I
very
always
good
thought of him as
looking.
I always thought of him as like 55 to 60, like older 50s, but not quite old yet, but more like matured middle age, sort of slightly above, like that sort of area. That's where I kind of thought he was like 50 to 60, like between those age groups. I never thought he was in his 70s. That really shocks me.
Yeah, I
Like,
couldn't imagine him wrinkled at all.
he was like wrinkled, and I was like, since when? Is he? I do not believe you.
Like, what is he, Benjamin Button?
He just, I think it's the way Lestat describes him as well. Is probably because Lestat is so old himself that he does see him as such like a younger person. And so we see from Lestat that he is this younger man who's just a bit more matured. And it isn't until like later on when we're like, he's old, and we're like, what? But you didn't describe him as old. Like,
Mm,
but it's probably
yeah,
because to Lestat he is young. Like Lestat's over 200 and he's like 70. So like he is considerably younger than Lestat.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, Lestat's body is 26. Is that 26?
Mm,
So no,
mm.
26 is this other guy,
Yeah,
the
the
James.
James's body is 26,
Yeah,
Lestat's body is 20, I think.
20. Yeah, yeah, 20. But at some point, I thought he was 18 and now 20, and I was confused with those 2 years.
Hmm, I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure I can't think of his name. I'm pretty sure Armand is 18.
Oh, okay. Then I cross them, yeah, somehow
I'm
in
pretty
my
sure
mind.
Armand is 18. We've got Lestat who's 20. I'm pretty sure Louis is 24. And then we now have David who's 26. So slightly like we're getting slightly older characters without being old. Like,
Yeah,
like
they're all like the same, around the same age.
yeah.
No, I'm
No,
very curious.
I was really surprised that we never actually saw Armand in that.
He always makes an appearance, except here.
Yeah. And also, I thought as soon as he realized that Lestat had went into a human body, or he'd heard, I thought for sure he's going to find Lestat and just rub his little face in it. Because that would be the most Armand thing to do. But he just didn't. And I was like, huh. And also when Lestat was speaking about all the vampires and he was like trying to check in on everyone to see how everyone was once he'd returned to his body, did he not miss out somebody? Like about Armand's boy toy. What's his name? The one that like Armand turned, but it was like his boy toy person.
Forgot his name.
But I'm pretty sure that Lestat doesn't look for him. He's like, I'm going to look for everyone else but that guy. Like,
Do you know what the next book is going to be about? I have no idea.
I can read the back of Memnock.
Yay!
Okay. In this terrifying novel from the phenomenally successful Anne Rice, the illustrious Vampire Lestat makes a Faustian pact with the devil. Satan has come to New Orleans with an
Oh,
enticing proposition. Under the name Memnock, this Lord of Darkness takes Lestat on a tour through the boundaries of space and time, offering an alternative and personalized account of the Bible, exploring the events which shaped our world. Their journey comes to an apocalyptic conclusion in hell, from which Lestat returns frail and broken. The experience has shattered his perceptions of the known universe, but can you ever trust the devil?
so 4 books saying there's no such a thing as a devil.
And then we're getting the devil.
And then we're getting the devil. It's like on your face, Lestat.
I'm I'm scared for this one because it sounds like we're going back to historical. And I'm like, can I handle more historical?
Hello,
Because,
Donna.
but it might be really interesting actually, because if we're seeing Lestat now, seeing what happened in those times, it might be more interesting. But I think it'll depend whether we get it from Lestat's point of view or whether we'll get it from Satan's point of view. But from the looks of it, we will get from Lestat.
I think it's
So
Lestat.
maybe it'll be
Or
good.
maybe two
I'm
POV.
nervous. I'm very nervous about
Yeah,
this
I'm
one.
curious. Because this one was so different. It was like a refreshment.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. I have no idea.
I
Like,
I thought you'd read the series before, like all of it. I didn't realize that you hadn't read this
no,
one.
no. I only read the first one years ago.
Oh, so you're like me and this is like all new to you then. I
Yeah.
thought that you'd read the series before but was doing like a proper reread of the full series.
Oh no.
I hadn't realized that you hadn't read them all. So this is
No, no.
it's quite interesting in that case to like properly see how we both feel, especially regarding it. But this one is considerably smaller, or at least for me it is, because my edition for Tale of the Body Thief was 680 pages,
Like, look
and
at
this
this. Could you show the book? Like,
like my
it's ridiculous.
mine is massive. But I actually
430
really
pages here.
my writing is really big though, and I just really preferred this because it actually felt like I was
Yeah.
actually getting through the book. Whereas previously I was kind of feeling like I'm not actually getting through it because it was like so small or whatever. Whereas this one here is only 401 pages. The writing is a bit smaller again, but it's not actually that small at the same time. So I'm hoping this one will still be a quite quick read.
I don't know if I'll be able to get it in time. I'll see if I can, if there's any place. I don't think they have it in English here in any place because I haven't found just the first three books at the most.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we can always push back this show till September. Like, I'm fine with pushing it back and doing one book every
yeah,
2 months. Because when it's historical as well, and it does kind of put me into that sort of, do I actually still love the series? I feel like a little bit of a break is actually kind of good. So I did really love this one. But then if this one was like the first one or the third one, then I'd probably want a break afterwards. So I'm happy either way. Also, I opened it on a page, right? And I'm so excited. I opened it randomly in the middle. I'm not like properly reading it or anything, but it does say the Angel Michael and Raphael, and I love those two. So I'm like,
I
that
don't like
has me.
angels at all. Have you watched Supernatural?
Yeah,
I only
but
like
I
Estelle.
I've been a fan of angels since I was young though, and Michael's my favorite angel, and so I'm very very excited. And I love Raphael as well. And I grew up on like angel movies. But like we're not religious, but I just kind of grew up on like angel movies and stuff, and I just really enjoy angels. Like I do like them, so I'm really happy and I'm like, excited because I do love Michael. So that might be a competitor for Lestat at this point in my reading journey of the Chronicle.
But angels, if they're portrayed in here as they are in Supernatural, they're not good. They're savage.
I I mean, you've always got the rivalry between the good and the bad angels. So it's going to depend on how they do it. But I think for
Yeah.
seeing it from Lestat's point of view and seeing it from Lucifer's point of view, that it's going to be so exciting.
Look what Donna is saying. When I think of Raphael, I think of the vampire in the Shadow Hunters.
I mean, I'm not going to deny you that because sometimes I do genuinely think of that Raphael as well. So you're not alone. But I'm
I haven't
excited
read the
because
Shadowhunters.
I've only read the first, I want to say two. I think I've only read the first two in the first series, in like the City of Bones series, or whatever it's called. I've only read those two, but it does have Raphael, and I do love Raphael. So it's going to be exciting for me. I'm very nervous because I'm scared this will read historical,
I
and
mm,
I struggle with historical, but then I like angels. So
I have to
I'm excited
confess,
at the same time.
when somebody says Raphael, I think of the Ninja Turtle.
Wonderful.
You have read Zero, so how do you think of Raphael when you hear Raphael if you haven't read it?
I, I mean, he is in the show. He is in the show, and he is in the movie. So I understand that.
Oh,
I do like Raphael, but for me, I'm more excited that we have Michael. I adore Michael. Like in any movie that I see that has angels, has Michael, I usually love Michael. So like
so
he has a lot to live up to for me.
I love that cover. That edition is wow, stunning.
I
Love the
love the snake
black.
and the apple. Like it feels very much like Adam and Eve.
Love it. Love it. It's beautiful. Really like that one. I cannot get that one. I think I have to get the mass market paperback.
Oh.
Let me see um, if Amazon has the
My
physical.
my annoying thing is I seem to have different editions for each book, but it's not that it bugs me because I don't really mind that much. But my editions are very different because I go like Queen of the Damned, the Vampire Lestat, those two kind of go hand in hand pretty much. And then I've got this one which is very black, and then I've got this one which is also very black. So my editions just seem to be very mismatch.
Yeah, kind of.
And
Oh, your edition
my
is
interview for the
really
Vampire one is
expensive
also
here.
like this one.
Your
So
edition is really, really expensive here. It's
is it?
$50.
Oh, that's pricey.
Oh, yes. $50 a lot of money for me, Nate.
I might actually end up having a whole entire shelf that is just interviews with the vampire books at this point because I am what I've got five, I've got six of them. My one for Armand is completely different because that's like a hardback, and all these are paperbacks. Like none of my editions match, none of them.
I hate I have a mismatch series also, and it's the Akatar series. Like I got all of
Yeah,
the old ones, which are stunning, but I
yeah.
hate the new covers. I really hate the new covers. I like I look at the old ones, and the new ones for me are like, nah, bad idea. So, and I had the last book in the new cover because they didn't release it in the old one, and mm.
The one thing I do love about my editions of this book and all my paperbacks is every single one of them has been floppy. Like all my editions have been floppy books. And I'm like, yes,
Love that.
like it's wonderful. I can actually open
Vampire
the book and not have the
recommendation.
spine break.
So, vampire recommendation, please.
Um, trying to think of other vampire books I like because for this one I'm very hit or miss whether I'd recommend it because I think the first book is so historical and very atmospheric, but then the second book is very much plot driven. So I'm very much like I don't know.
And the third book has a lot of different characters, and most of them just don't last. And then it's going back and forth,
Yeah.
and it's pretty heavily historical, but also, um, like in the last part, you get to understand a lot of things at that moment. And then this book is completely different. The fourth book is quite a paranormal contemporary thing more than anything, and is action packed, and it's also plot driven. but it developed certain characters that we loved from previous books, and makes another one eventually come back at some points, at certain points, and I really like you fly through it. So I don't know. You could try, but it would take you some time to read the first one. But don't rush it. Like, don't rush through it. Enjoy what's happening. But there's a
Other
series.
vampire ones.
There's
I
a
think there's
series.
other vampire ones. The Marked series, House of Night series. I really like that one. And we all know I'm going to say Twilight because I'm a huge Twilight person. Um,
I don't.
but I'm trying to think of other vampire books I actually have,
But there's a
and
series
I'm
I was
struggling.
reading, and it has werewolves, vampires, ghosts. Is it has a bit of everything. And what I love about that is that you fly through it, and it's the sense of humor. The sense of humor. It's amazing, and I think Donna would enjoy it. It also has kind of a bit of romance and everything. The Gypsy something. Let me find it on Goodreads. Hmm.
I need to get more vampire books in general. I feel like I always struggle to find good vampire books. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
but I just
Same.
think vampires aren't that well used anymore. I feel like they were used a lot more before, but in like proper horror. Whereas if you're wanting something a bit lighter, they haven't really been used all that much.
Okay, I got the name. The series is called All the Pretty Monsters.
I like the name of that. I very much like the name of that series.
Yeah, I heard terrible things about the last one, though, in Twilight.
I no the fourth the movie. Ugh.
No, the last book,
Um
like the one
no, the
they
last book's
finished.
good.
I
Not
heard
not Midnight Sun. Don't read Midnight Sun. Don't do that
no
to
that
yourself.
that one, that
Don't
one. No.
oh no, don't read Midnight Sun. Don't do that. Um like I adore Twilight and I like don't do that. Um but Breaking Dawn is really good.
Just in
Breaking
case
Dawn is amazing.
anybody
You're getting to see
missed it.
everyone's powers more. You're seeing all like these other vampires from all around the world and stuff as well. So it's very, very good. What did you say that series was called, Anna? I'm going to just kind of have a quick
All the Pretty Monsters.
all the pretty monsters. No problem.
I wrote it in the comments.
Ah, perfect. All the pretty monsters. Let's have a look, see how much it is on my Kindle. Hmm.
I think it's cheap on Kindle.
Oh,
This one is called
guys,
Gypsy
they
Blood.
are on Kindle Unlimited. There's one, two, three, four, five, six. They're all on Kindle Unlimited.
They're six, yeah.
I'm going to be binging
I
that.
read only the first one. So if you want, we can read the other. We can better read the others. Like I could get to them anytime I have the others on my Kindle. So and
I'm
I
definitely
really
going to
enjoyed the first one. I thought it was so funny, and I think Donna and you would really like it.
be. I'm definitely going to be like checking it out as soon as I've got a space on my Kindle because I've used all my Kindle Unlimited spaces right now. But as soon as I read one of those books, that's the first one that's going back on. I'm like, this one. I need this one because that sounds good.
Yeah, I think
Um,
you would really like it,
I
and
would
it's so
hope
funny.
so. It sounds like something I would like because on the description it's saying, um, I'm sure there are a lot of girls with old gypsy blood who see their dead have killer who see the dead have killer cults hunting their family and turn into something that gets scary when they panic. Yet completely unoriginal if I do say so myself. And I just really like that description of it itself. I'm like, I am intrigued. Like, I feel like that sounds good to me already.
Donna, chat to me on WhatsApp because we can talk about how you can get the books.
Well, they're quite cheap on Kindle. They were like £2.50 or something to
I
buy,
mean,
or they're free
maybe
on
Donna
Kindle
can
Unlimited.
check. maybe Donna wants to check Kindle because even if she doesn't have a Kindle, I believe, but she has like you can download on the computer the Kindle
You can
app,
download the Kindle app.
and you can
It's
read them
always.
there. Mm.
I think that's pretty much everything I have to say on Until the Body Thief, though. I don't
Yeah, I
think I have
think that's
anything else.
all I had also on
I
it.
just, I just want to snuggle up with Mojo. That's it. I just want to snuggle Mojo. That
I
creepy,
think that was
fluffy
it.
monster.
Yeah, I've gone through all my tabs. Okay, then
Shall
I can
we?
do. So if you want to better read with us, let us know, Donna. You can let me know. She has my WhatsApp, so she can write to me and I can talk to you, whatever. We can make a group on Twitter if you girls want to better read. We can even binge it. Like we could even binge it and make a video about the series.
I've not binge read a series in so long. I miss binge reading.
I
Like,
miss it. The only series I binge read are the Harry Potter that I've been read when they because I hadn't read the books and I knew it when the fourth was released, so I was lucky enough that when I finished the fourth book, the fifth was released, and so on and so forth. Like I could binge read it, and
I think,
the Lunar Chronicles.
oh, I think the last series I binge read was 50 Shades of Grey series.
That's another series I'm not going to read.
I read all 3 books in 3 days.
Wow.
And I usually take like a week to read a book. So like I was in. Like
I normally read like between 2 and 3 per week. That's the most common for me.
that's
If
not bad.
I'm not, yeah, but this semester was impossible because it was my last semester at uni, and now I'm just working on my thesis and working, teaching, which is, that's why I'm starting to release videos again. For whoever's watching, I'm releasing videos again. But for 4 months, I was like, I'm not a human. This is not, no. I was not, I didn't feel alive. I felt more like less studying the human body.
That's a mood in itself.
But you know
Um,
what? I cannot wait to see some illustration of James because I want to see that body.
I might end up starting to look up fan art for some of these characters just so I can get like a kind of like a rough
If
picture
you
of them.
see some about James, please send it to me because
Okay.
I'm dying to see that body. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah, I've not got anything else to kind of say about the book. I'm nervous but excited for Memnock. Like, I think it's
Yeah,
going to be a good
I
time.
get it. Yeah. Live show for Memnock is going to be in September because I cannot get the book before August. So yeah, it's going to be
That'll
in
be
September for whoever's watching and want to be here around the second weekend, probably, of September. And I hope, Donna, thank you so very much for coming by. And I hope if you watch this, you like the discussion. Comment, tell us down below if you've read it, what you thought of it, or if you feel compelled to read the book now. Uh, Again, there are a couple of parts that we have key spoilers. Uh, you can move forward on the video. And I really loved getting back to this series with you, Ashley. I'm glad you said, like, oh, let's do it for June because I quite enjoyed this book. And I'm now really curious as to where Unrise is going to take us.
I think for me it was just staring at me. Like this one was just staring at me being like, pick me up. And I was like, you know what? I'm in the mood for it. I had a month off. I got back into like a proper mindset for kind of like reading this series because I don't know whether it was because I was so disappointed with Queen of the Damned because of how much I loved the vampire Lestat, and then it just plummeted for me. And so I just needed a bit of a break, just kind of recenter myself before jumping back in. But that one had me very, very happy again. So I'm excited to continue. I'm hoping that the bad times are over for me.
Yeah, cannot wait to discuss the next one with you.
It's going to be fun.
Yay! So, thanks everyone for being here. If you don't know, my beautiful co host is Ashley from Ashley's Media Addiction. She's linked down below already. So, you can check her out. Please do check her out. And I hope to see you in the next live show that is going to be on Ashley's channel.
Be on my channel next time. Nervous. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So, have fun, everyone. I hope to see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.